Hey, what is going on, guys? So today we're going to be doing an updated video for one of my best tutorials here on the channel, and that is the Windows 10 install in VirtualBox on your Mac. So you guys have really watched that video. It has well over 100,000 views now, and it's definitely a video that I did not expect to take off like it did, but I thank you guys for all the support and watching it, leaving comments and liking it, and I'm glad that I could help a lot of people out with that tutorial. But that tutorial is already a year old now, so I figured I would go ahead and update it since a lot of things have changed. So the first thing that's changed is VirtualBox. So we're now on version 6. It has pretty much a new redesign here. And then also Windows 10. So there's been several major Windows 10 updates, and I've seen a lot of you guys have questions in the comments about, why is this not working, or how do I do this, or this error. So I'm going to try to address some of those more popular questions today in this video while we do this install. Okay, so first off, we need to get VirtualBox. Now I already have it downloaded, and you might have it already downloaded as well, but if you don't, all you got to do is head over to virtualbox.org. I'll put a link down in the description below to make it a little easier for you. But there should be this huge download VirtualBox 6.1 button right here. All you got to do is click on that, and it's going to take you to this page. And as I'm recording this video, which is August 5th, 2020, this is the latest version, so 6.1.12, and since we are on a Mac, we want to make sure we click on that OS X host button here. So once you click on that, it'll begin to download VirtualBox for you right up here, but I'm not going to do that since I already have it downloaded, of course. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step, which is Windows 10. So all you have to do for that is you can Google Windows 10 download and click on the first Microsoft link that you see. But again, to make it a little bit easier for you, I'll put this link in the description as well. So the good thing about Windows 10 is you do not have to have a product key to use it. That is not how it was on other versions of Windows. But with Windows 10, you can literally download this ISO and use it as long as you want to. Now you may get some nagging from time to time, like, hey, you're not activated. You might have the watermark in the bottom of your screen. You might have, I know you can't personalize your desktop, so you can't change your wallpaper or things like that. But those are some minor prices to pay for a free copy of Windows 10, right? So you do not have to activate it to use it, which is really cool. So literally all you got to do is go to this page. I'll put it in the description. It's legit. It's Microsoft's website. So you just scroll down, you select your edition, and as I'm recording this, this is the latest update, the May 2020 update. This is a very large update that they did with the redesign and everything. So you just select whatever the latest version is right there. You click on confirm, and then it's going to ask you to select the product language. So just pick your language from this list, hit confirm one more time, and now we have two download links up here, one for the 32-bit, one for the 64. So we're going to download the 64. If you want the 32, you can do it, but most people are going to want that 64. And once you click on that, it'll begin downloading it for you. Now, as you can see, this is a fairly large file, just a little over 5 gigs. And depending on your internet, this could be done in a few minutes, or this could be done in a few hours. So lucky for me, I already got that downloaded as well. So we're not going to have to download that either. Okay, so first thing you want to do, of course, once you get all those things downloaded, is we need to install VirtualBox. So if you have it already, you can fast forward a little bit, but if you don't, basically all you got to do, it's a DMG file. You open it up. It's just like any Mac application that you install. You go through the installer window and it's installed. It's as simple as that. Now I will say this, there is one issue you may encounter, and this is an issue that I saw a lot of you guys comment about when you're installing VirtualBox. So you may get something that says this program couldn't be installed, and it's going to say something like that, and it's also going to say contact the manufacturer. All this is a permission error in macOS. Everybody knows macOS is all about security, so they prevent a lot of programs by default from actually being able to, install on your computer. So all you have to do, if you get that error, is go to System Preferences, head over to the Security and the Privacy section, make sure you're on the General tab, and you're going to see a window that looks a little something like this. Now down here in the bottom where my cursor is, you're going to see a little message. It's going to say something like, Oracle America is trying to install, blah, blah, blah. And you should see an allow button right over here. All you have to do is click on that allow button, then go back to your VirtualBox DMG file and try to install the program again. And that's it. That's how you fix that error. Now, we may have to come back to the security and privacy section a little bit later, and I'll show you why, but just know that most of the time when you're having errors, you may just need to go and click allow. So I'll talk about this again here in a little while. Alright, so once you get VirtualBox all installed here, it's going to open up and it's going to look a little something like this. So basically, this interface is really simple and easy to use. So over here on the left, this pane right here, this is where all of your virtual machines are going to be stored at. So this is where you'll be able to click on whichever one you want to start up, and then you'll be able to hit the start button. That'll be over here. But this is where they will all appear. Now we obviously don't have any because, well, we haven't created one yet. So literally all we have to do is click on the new button, and this is going to begin the process of creating a virtual machine. Okay, so right here we need to name it. So you want to have a recognizable name because, well, if you have a lot of machines here one day and maybe you have multiple versions of Windows you're using, or maybe multiple versions of Ubuntu or something like that, you want to have a recognizable name. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to call it Windows 10. And as you can see, VirtualBox automatically recognizes what you type in up here. So it saw Windows 10 and it changed it down here from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So it automatically updates for you. That's why you want a recognizable name as well. Now the machine folder is where your actual virtual machine files are going to be stored. This is where, all your virtual hard disk and things like that are going to be. Usually it's by default in a folder called VirtualBox VMs in your home folder. And that's a great place to put it, but if for some reason you want to change it, you can change it. I recommend just leaving it where it is in that default location. But once you get all this figured out, you just hit continue. Okay, so next up here is memory size. So this is the amount of RAM that you want to allocate to your virtual machine. So you can see the slider here is different colors. We have green right here, and then we have, looks like kind of an orange, and then we have some red right here. So basically this is telling us, hey, if you stay in this green area, you should be fine. But if you go any further, well, you might have some problems. And you can see the recommended memory size is 2048 megabytes. And this is in megabytes, of course, like I just said. RAM is measured in gigabytes, but when you look at megabytes and compare it to gigabytes, it's pretty similar. So 2048 is actually about 2 gigs. 16384 is about 16 gigs, and that's what my computer has. So you need to know what amount of RAM your computer has. So if you have 8 gigs, well, you're going to have less RAM, of course, to allocate than me. Now the good news is Windows 10 runs perfectly fine on a 2 gigs a minimum of RAM. So if you don't have a lot, I recommend staying at 2. Don't go below 2. More ideal would be like 4, but I run Windows 10 all the time on 2 gigs of RAM and it works perfectly. Now when I'm running Ubuntu, I actually need to bump that up to 4. So the good news is about this is this can be changed at any time. So if you find that, why is this thing running so slow? Maybe I need to adjust my RAM. You can go into settings, you can bump it up, and adjust it on the fly, so that's really nice. But anyways, 2 gig minimum is what I recommend. I wouldn't go more than half of whatever your host machine has. So, if you have 4, then you need to do 2. If you have 8, then you should do 4. But again, you pick what you want and it can be changed at any time. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to leave it at what it recommends. We'll hit continue. And now we're going to create a virtual hard disk. So this is going to create the virtual hard disk in that home folder that we talked about earlier. So we hit create, and we want to make sure that it's on a VirtualBox disk image file. Hit continue again. And now we can choose between a dynamically allocated system and a fixed size. So basically what this means, and you can read it right here as well, dynamically allocated is going to allocate space over time. So let's say you set your storage for 64 gigs. It is not going to immediately take away 64 gigs from your host machine. And that's a good thing, because you might not need all that space, right? You might set this machine up for, 200 gigs of space because you don't know how much you're going to need, right? So you can set that up, and if you only use 5 gigs of space on that machine, which you're not, you're probably going to use more like 20 at least, right? If you only use 20 gigs, let's just say, that's all it's going to take from your host machine. So that's why dynamically allocated is always pretty much the better choice. If you do fixed size, well, a fixed size is better for people that may be doing this on an external drive. So if you have an external SSD, it'll actually allow this to load quicker. So fixed size may be good for some people, but for most, I definitely recommend dynamically allocated. So we hit continue, and here is where we can set this. Okay, so now I'm just going to put 64. Windows recommends like a minimum, I think, of maybe in the 20s, I believe. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a little less than that. But the lowest hard drive space on a computer that I've seen for sale, like a Windows computer, not a Chromebook or anything like that, is 64 gigs. And most of the time, really usable storage is like 128 gigs. So you really just need to first off know how much storage your host machine has. My computer is 512 gigs, so I should be plenty of fine to do just about whatever I want. You also need to know, what are you going to be using this virtual machine for? Are you going to be installing a lot of applications? Are you going to be storing a lot of files? What are you going to be using it for? And the reason why I say that is this cannot be changed, okay? And that's very important. You cannot change this number. It's not like the RAM. You can't change this like you can the RAM. So whatever you put here, the only way to change it is to delete your virtual machine and start all over. So really think about what you want to put here. Like I said, minimum I would say 128 gigs or maybe 64. I mean, again, it depends on your needs. For me, I do 128 gigs, but if you don't have the space for that, you can go lower. But when you start installing Windows updates and things like that, that storage gets eat up pretty quickly. So again, this can't be changed, so figure out a number that works best for you. But once you figure this out, hit create, and we now have our virtual machine created here. So you can see it looks a lot different now. We have it over here in this pane, and we have a lot of information about our machine right here. And then we also have the little preview of what is going on with it. And before we get started, we want to just go into the settings button up here, and we can change a few things around in our virtual machine settings. So this first tab, there's really nothing to worry about. Let's go to the system right here. Now you can see this is where you can change your RAM. So like I said, you can change it anytime you want. So all you have to do is shut down your virtual machine, change the RAM, and then reboot. You can't change it while you're actually in the machine, but you can change it right here with the slider. Now I don't think we need floppy anymore, so I'm just going to uncheck that. It's very important that you do not change this boot order though. It's always going to boot from the optical first and then the hard disk. If you uncheck optical, it's not going to work. So be sure those two are checked and be sure you leave them in this order. Alright, we can go to processor and we can actually bump up our processor right here. So again, that depends on what processor does your computer have. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be good with just one CPU, but if you want to play around a little bit, you can change it as you can see. We go over here to display, we see our video memory. So on Windows 10, it defaults to 128 megabytes for me of video memory, but if you enable 3D acceleration, you can actually get away with a little bit more video memory for your machine. So no matter what, whether you have 3D acceleration on or not, you want to make sure this slider is all the way to the right. So be sure that's all the way over there. And again, this can be changed at any time. And for the settings, that's pretty much it. So there's not much going on other than those, few important ones right there. But once you get done fiddling around in there, you can hit OK. And we are now ready to start this virtual machine up for the first time. So let's go ahead and click on the start button. And it's going to take a second here, but we're going to get this window pop up. Now, in your case, you're probably going to see nothing right here, but I was installing Ubuntu before this video, so you're going to see nothing right here. So what we need to do is, this is the point where we choose that Windows 10 ISO file that we downloaded earlier. So click on this little folder right here, and this menu is actually all new for VirtualBox 6. So you didn't see this menu if you watch my previous Windows 10 install video. But don't let it scare you. All you got to do is click on the add button, and also, by the way, you're not going to see anything in here. Again, I was installing Ubuntu. So click on this add button right here. And what you want to do is just go in the Finder window and locate wherever you put that ISO file. So it might still be in your downloads, but I moved mine to a different location. So just locate that file, and whenever you find it, select it and click on the open button here. And there it is right there. So make sure you click on it here as well and then hit choose. Okay, so now we are ready to go. So what you want to do now is just click on that start button, and hopefully your virtual machine will boot up into the Windows installation. You should see a Windows logo momentarily here, and there it is. Now, one important thing here, this is a pretty common error yet again. Remember how I was talking about the security and privacy, clicking that allow button? When you click start, you may or may not get a kernel driver error. Now, you could get that error maybe in other parts of the install as well, but at any time if you get a kernel driver error, all you got to do is head over to your system preferences, go down to the security and privacy, and you should see an allow button, and you're going to need to click that in order to get it working. So that's another really common error, but with a simple fix. So that's good, right? Now these pop-ups, you can just get rid of those. Those are just VirtualBox warnings up there. Okay, so here we are on the Windows setup screen. So you want to make sure all this information is correct. Then we can click next, and you want to click on this install now button. So the setup is going to go ahead and start up for us real quick. Okay, so the first thing it's going to ask you is for a product key. Now again, I said that you do not have to have a product key. So all you have to do is click right here that says I don't have a product key. Click on that, and that's all you got to do. It's then going to ask you what version do you want to install. So you can literally choose anything you want: Windows Home, Windows Pro, Education, anything. So just for fun, I'm going to choose Windows 10 Pro, but again, you can choose whatever you want. And maybe if you want to activate it later, you can buy a key, you can activate it, but just remember which one you clicked here. But that's all you got to do. You click which one you want, you hit next. It's going to bring up some license terms here. You just click the accept, and then we click next again. And you want to click on this custom install down here. And the reason why I like to do that is it just shows me that whatever hard drive space we allocated, in my case it was 64, your number might be different here, but I just like to confirm that it is working properly and it reads that properly. So once you click on that, you can then hit next, and it should start the installation process for Windows. And there we go. So now we're installing Windows, and at this point it's just a waiting game. So once this gets done, we should be on some setup screens. So I will come back whenever this gets done. Alright, so after a few restarts, we are finally here at the first setup screen. So you just want to go through this like you would any other Windows setup. So starting with the region, you just select the one you want and then click yes. Okay, so here's another error that you may encounter. Okay, so if you get anything that looks like this during the setup, or if you notice that it starts doing a setup loop, so you may get towards the end of the setup and then you realize you're all the way back to the beginning. Well, the main reason for that is you either need to allocate more RAM or more CPU. In my case, it's definitely CPU, because the screen recording takes up so much of that CPU that the virtual machine can't even hardly function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this setup screen off camera, and then I will see you all on the desktop. But just know that if you get errors like that, or you're in a setup loop, you need to allocate more RAM or CPU. So I'm going to get through this real quick and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so here we are on the desktop, and you may get some pop-ups here on the desktop. There was something about network, and then a few other things, display driver, and that is because we need to install the VirtualBox guest editions in order to make all that work properly. Now this is a step that is essential to every virtual machine you create, regardless of operating system. So it's really simple. All you have to do is go up here to your menu bar, and there should be a devices tab right here, and you just want to go to the bottom where it says insert guest editions CD image, and you want to go ahead and click on that. And then in Windows, you just want to go to the File Explorer, and once you get in the File Explorer, you want to head over to this PC. Now when you get to this PC, all you want to do is go here to your CD drive, and you should see the VirtualBox guest editions mounted in there. So we just simply double click on that, and it's going to take us into the program here, and you want to select this one right here that says VBox Windows Edition, and you just want to double click it, and this is going to open up the installer window for the guest editions. You're going to get a pop-up, you just want to hit yes, and we can go ahead and close the File Explorer, and you can see the setup right here. So you just want to click on next, and just keep clicking the next, and then install, and it's going to install the guest editions. Now whenever you update VirtualBox, it's also important that you update your guest editions, and you literally do that the same way that we just did to install them. All you got to do is go to the devices tab, click insert, and then you just simply install them. So you might get a pop-up as well. You just want to go ahead and click install on that. Alright, and all we got to do now is reboot it, and this will complete our installation of the guest editions and our installation of Windows 10 here in VirtualBox. Now I will show you this before we reboot. One big thing that the guest editions fix is the screen resolution. So you can see when I change the window size, the screen resolution does not adjust. So that is a main reason why you want to install these. And even if we go in full screen, you'll notice it doesn't go full screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it in full screen, and actually reboot it here so you all can see the change take place. So just go ahead and hit finish and it's going to reboot for us. Alright, so we're loaded back in, or trying to load in here to the desktop, and you should see the screen resolution automatically adjust here in a second in the full screen mode. And there we go. So the screen has adjusted properly, and that is it, guys. That is how you install Windows 10 in VirtualBox on your Mac. So thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my first tutorial of this. If you have any questions or comments or any problems, be sure to leave them down in the comments down below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like on it. It helps a lot. And also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other tutorial videos like this one. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you today. Thank you all for your support as always, and I will catch you all in the next video.